Thank you very much, Adrienne. Well, this being the UDO dissemination conference, we figured we would disseminate as much as we could. And in fact, we are disseminating something that doesn't exist yet. So, we're getting a head start. So what I'm doing here is presenting a project which will start next year, and whether it continues will depend on a number of things, mostly money and people, but as we were discussing before with some of the people here around the room, once you get the money, the people are easy to find. So anyway, we will do our initial bit next year. So the project is called Parties and Multi-Level Campaign Organizations, Studying Election Campaigns During a 5-Year European Cycle. And this is an initiative of the sub-observatory called Observatory on Political Parties and Representation. What do we do at the OPPR, as we call it for short? We try to study parties in multi-level systems. And this is obviously nothing earth-shattering. In recent years, politics is described increasingly as a multi-level phenomenon. And of course, Marx and Hug and Marx have told us that this is because of political integration at European level and growing regionalization in a number of states in Europe and perhaps even beyond. So as a result of this, the central state level is surrounded and influenced by the other levels, and they become a system of multi-level governance, which affects political parties as well. Especially Lisbeth Hug has mentioned the importance of parties in a multi-level settings, but not really much has been theorized and researched. So the mission that we're giving ourselves is to study parties in such settings empirically, and also, of course, conceptualizing and theorizing accordingly. Why are we going to study? We're trying to launch this project on campaigns. The electoral moment is naturally considered a fundamental focus for the study of political parties. And when we study elections in multi-level settings, we are confronted with this problem, which Reif and Schmidt were the first one to conceptualize at European level. The second order nature of elections at regional level was already in the literature, but they were the first ones to conceptualize the existence of these peculiar characteristics at European level. And the problem is exactly the second level nature of certain types of elections. So the second order nature. And what do we have here? What are the main characteristics? Lower turnout, vote for opposition and or anti-system parties, prevalence of nationally focused issues, and I'm not so sure that this is explicitly mentioned in their article. With Herman, we were saying before, the article is being cited copiously, but not many people are reading it anymore. I confess I haven't read it in about 15 years, so I don't remember whether this fourth characteristic is in there or not. But in my view, another characteristic, which is something that came up in discussion in the previous panel, is there are also differences in the supply side. That parties act differently. Not only do the voters act differently in second-order elections, but the parties also behave differently. So this It was part. Okay, good. So I'm not appropriating this. As I said, I'm not sure it was in there, but it was. Okay, all right. So the campaign effects of this, however, precisely because if that fourth point was in there, it wasn't picked up by those thousands of people who've read the article, and so it was not replicated in the debate. The discussion on campaigns has crept into this debate more recently, and here you have all the relevant quotations. Since what we study here is, like I was saying, parties and party systems at all levels, we also then focus on the centrality of elections, because those who have studied organizational change and in a systematic way, mostly Robert Harnell and Katzenmeyer, have recognized that the electoral function is central to party organizational change. If there is a motor in the change in party organization, this is the one. So, if elections at different levels are so different in terms of electoral behavior, in terms of party attitudes, then obviously adaptation to these different contexts is very likely, and here, of course, our theoretical efforts have to be deepened a little bit. It's very likely that parties will act and organize differently in elections at different levels. Not only do we have to conceptualize this better, but we also have to investigate this empirically. So our main research question is, in what ways do parties adapt to the different institutional settings posed by the national and supranational electoral arenas? And actually, I should have added here, not only institutional, but also environmental, in a broader sense of the word. So this is it. This is a very simple project in terms of its main concept. We have two series of variables we are going to be looking at. The environmental variables, which include the institutional ones and those that are more broadly political and contextual. So we're going to look at electoral rules. Actually, I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't have that much time. You can see it on the slide what we're going to look at in terms of the environmental variables, which we look at as the set of independent variables, and any additions, any comments, any suggestions for deletion are more than welcome here. And then, of course, we're looking at the party organizational characteristics. What do these environmental variables do for the way parties organize? And here we're looking at candidacies, manifestos, election campaign techniques. You know, some of the things that Wojciech mentioned this morning obviously are included here. More in detail, we will try to give answers to these questions, such as, are there differences in the bodies deciding the presentation of candidacies at two levels? And this, of course, is something that is well known in the literature and well accepted in the literature on selectorates. How open is the selection of candidates. Are there differences in the process of formulation of electoral manifestos at the two levels? Again, here the inclusiveness versus the exclusiveness of the bodies making decisions can be, okay, I'm almost there. Thank you. Anyway, you can read again these questions yourselves, and if anybody's interested, I will circulate these slides so you can give us suggestions on how to improve on this, on how to get money, and and yeah, okay, give me money directly. That'd be fantastic. The last thing is the countries that we have for now identified, which again, this is subject to change, but what we have done, since we are giving a lot of importance to the electoral rules, what we have done, we have identified countries that are representative of, as a sample, of three essential characteristics which we consider important for the organization of campaigns. As you can see, we have 6 out of 12 countries in which we have some forms of preference vote, 6 out of 12 where we have subnational constituencies, 6 out of 12 where we have thresholds, 7 out of 12 where we have electoral system homogeneity. This is an important variable in our view, as emerged in the discussion in the previous panel, precisely because electoral system homogeneity gives, lack of homogeneity gives parties an incentive to offer a different supply in elections. The effects of trying spurious, unorthodox strategies is magnified when the electoral system is different at European level. Okay, so that's what we're doing. And so in these 5 years, if we get the money, we're going to study, of course, the 2019 European elections and national elections as scheduled. What we will definitely do next year is do a European pilot study in the country where we already have people who are willing to work for free. So Italy, Poland, and United Kingdom, and if we don't find anybody who's willing to work for free in Belgium, we'll do it ourselves. Okay, so that's it, basically. There's a bunch of indicators, but these follow from the variables and from the detailed questions. Again, I think all of these things are pretty much standard. What we have added here recently is we think it would be interesting to see whether parties use voting advice applications, because apparently I was convinced, I'm now a believer, they have an effect on how people behave, and perhaps they have an effect also on how parties present candidatures. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.